Like there is no destination, honestly.
We don't know
like
the destination.
Yeah, like it's the journey is that's the trophy that you get. Like it's not the destination. It was never the destination. Like, so no, man, for real. What, I guess, who or what was kind of your biggest inspiration as it came to entrepreneurship? Like, was there anybody along the journey that like inspired you? And if not,
Dope Boys.
Hey, I mean, that's real though. Like,
honestly, I looked up to them when I was 14, 15 years old. They had all the big cars, they had all the money, had all the women. You know, like, I ain't know no better. I mean, that's what we glorify in the hood, you know. I mean, through design, but nonetheless, you know, but in regards, that's the start. But in regards to like legitimate entrepreneurship and inspiration, just the struggle. A fear of having a 9-to-5 for the rest of my life.
Being complacent.
Coming home, being away from home for 4 years and being able to find all the same people in the same spot I left them in was scary as hell to me.
Yeah. Hey, it ain't gon' come overnight. We done seen so many nights. We had to start from the bottom. We done heard so many lies, but we still made it this far, even though they tried to stop us.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode. Welcome to season 2. It's only right that I rebranded, and instead of Imperfect on Purpose, this is now the Inspired by You podcast.
You.
Or me, or you, or you, or you. Anywho, I'm back with my boy, Joe Luten from Importin Joe's Coffee. Tell us a little bit about your brand and what inspired you.
So we are a Black and woman-owned Ethiopian coffee company. We are local to the area. We started in like 2020, mid-pandemic, and well, really, that was actually like the front end of the pandemic. And you know, through all of my travels and going throughout the world, I would always have a beverage of the sort. You know, whether it was indulging in a little bit of craft beer. You know, if I was in Chianti in Italy, I'd of course indulge in some wine, and then ended up heading out to Ethiopia, and you know, I got introduced to coffee, and I was just taken aback. It was just absolutely amazing when it came to the flavor, but I mean, the coffee was just a vehicle. It's a platform of the sort to be able to share with the world. Our vision, our mission, our journey, and of course, God's greatest gift to the world, and that being coffee. Ethiopia is actually the birthplace and origin of coffee. I got my start, you know, in craft beer. So I bartended in like 11 countries in 8 weeks. That kind of introduced me to the beverage culture. In my journeys, I also spent some considerable amount of time in Chianti, in Italy, and also in Bordeaux as well. And that allowed me to begin to kind of really open up to cultures around products. So like there's a culture around cigars, there's culture around cannabis, there's culture around beer, wine, chocolate, you know, anything that's a fine good. There's culture of people, you know, who kind of
indulge in it.
Yeah, they do more than indulge. It becomes them. They identify with it, you know, so it becomes a part of their essence. And so, you know, having that experience in craft beer and then wine, it was just a natural progression into coffee because of the way that coffee grows. You know, coffee is affected in the same manner as wine or a vineyard by its elements, or it's referred to as a terroir. And so anytime you go, or anytime the terroir changes, it creates this variable in the flavor profile of the agricultural item or good. And so coffee has different varietals, different vintages, different flavor profiles that are very, very becoming. And we're talking undertones of berries, cherries, chocolate, earthy notes, all of that. And I got my start, you know, through just looking at other entrepreneurial entrepreneurial endeavors that I had in my former days, and seeing where there were some correlation, you know, and finding what I was good at, you know, and really, honestly, I ain't even think about like the selling avenue. I was more focused on making sure that I could bring a good product that like blew everybody else's product out of the water. And once I got that, I knew that we could win. I just got to get it out there.
That makes sense. And I think too, like a lot of people look at a product, like a lot of people want to come out and create just some product nobody's ever heard of. Like they get scared when they look at like a product like bread or like coffee, and you look at the shelves and you know there's a bunch of them.
Sure.
Like a lot of people get scared there. How did you make sure that Importin Joe's was, you know, standing out?
A story. So one thing, and when I waited tables, there was an individual, an owner, who took the time to like invest in me. Like, well, I kind of annoyed him by like asking a lot of questions when he was very busy all the time. But nonetheless,
gotta do what you gotta do.
Heck yeah, I could care less, you know. But I needed my insight, you know. But he shared with me, you know, he said the reason why a lot of these businesses, restaurants particularly, are suffering is because they have no character, they have no theme, they have no story, they have nothing for people to resonate with. And so for us, you know, we have a theme. We've got genuine compassion and empathy for humanity, you know, behind our product, and it's cause related. And then also, you know, we understood the market that we were entering. With coffee, there is next to almost no representation of minorities in that space on this side, on the consumer side, so retail and things of that nature. And in all actuality, all coffee is grown by Black and brown people, but yet they reap some of the least benefits at all. And so when it came to differentiating ourselves from the rest of the competition, we looked at key attributes or characteristics of our product. We paid attention to the color scheme. We paid attention to even the nuances of how we designed our product and our bag. You know, I really wanted to go for a very minimalistic appeal. You know, I studied different themes of calligraphy and typography, you know, to really understood what resonated with the consumer psyche. And so we invested a lot of time and dedication into understanding our product, understanding our industry, and making sure that we excelled in that.
Man, that's smart. A lot of people, I think, just, you know, make the product and just kind of put it out there without putting in all that behind the scenes work. And man, that's really what makes it count. And I mean, if you look at your product here, like that bag that's player. Like, I like that. Like, it's crisp, it's clean, it's like, you know, to the point. I think too, it's worth mentioning, like, I've never seen, I don't think, like, even a coffee brand with like representation of a person either. Like, you know, like it just feels like it has a story to it. Like,
yeah, it's personified.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was one of my main focuses. And so this icon, it holds a lot of weight. It's not just a face with a fro. And so there's historical context behind this. In Ethiopia, you will see the style or the genre of their artwork. So there's this type of art all throughout their cathedrals, all throughout their Orthodox churches. Like, it is absolutely immaculate. I love like their artwork and their style of artwork. And so one thing that I wanted to do was spark curiosity and intrigue. And so I knew that this would be a polarizing image. I knew that it would bring out individuals, you know, but it would create an opportunity for conversation. And so in regards to the actual history behind this represents the entire northern Ethiopian people, or the Habesha people. And so what I did was I took culture, you know, and I put it on the forefront, and it was designed by an Ethiopian artist, you know, and so everything is authentic for us. And we're actually in the process of rebranding, because our approach to the mass market has to be more refined, and there's certain discrepancies in regards to my design that I didn't take into consideration, or that I actually executed a little bit too well. And so We are very intentional in making sure that we focus on all of these elements, because I mean, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you just can't leave things to risk. You know, the goal of entrepreneurship is to mitigate risk and limit exposure to risk. And so, you know, I take control of what I have control of, and I just knock it out.
One thing you said is that people buy into like the cause of like what you guys are doing. And a phrase I've come across a lot is like, people don't buy into what you do, they buy into why you do it. And I think that's like a super important like thing to note. But also like,
That's deep.
What, man? So I mean, even this podcast, like, yeah, it's nice that I do this podcast, but like, what's the message behind it? You know, what's in it for other people? Like, why are we doing it? You know, like, and I mean, part of it is to give the game to other people, to inspire people, you know, like, and just, I mean, get the word out for, you know, I mean, it gets the word out about your business. Somebody might be inspired by this. Somebody will get a piece of the game and use it, you know, for their thing. And then we all, you know, we all elevating like together. Like, that's the point. So that's why I'm doing it. But okay, why are you guys doing this? Like, what's the cause behind it that you're talking about? Like,
there's so many, right? So one of the things like that kind of hindered my growth growing up was that once I got in trouble with the law, like once I got a felony at the age of like 19, I was completely ostracized by society. And so life just got really extremely difficult when it didn't need to be. You know, I didn't do anything violent or harmful. You know, it was for cannabis cultivation.
Something that's legal now. And,
in Michigan, right where I was at. And so, you know, there's that. My why is just multifaceted. You've got marginalized groups of people all over the world who have less than. When I was in Ethiopia, the first thing that I saw getting off the plane was a group of children, massive groups of children. They were huddled in the streets, man, like packs of dogs around like garbage, trying to find food to eat and scour for food. And it was just things like that really kind of devastated my heart. You know, I had seen a lot of poverty and pain in places like Haiti and in Cuba, you know, but in Ethiopia, it was just something that just ravaged my heart, you know, and I really wanted to help those kids. And more than that, though, it was the fact that the rest of the society treated them so terribly. Like, they were looked at as if they were invisible. Like, these kids would be like tugging at these people's pants and they would just continue with the conversation, act like they didn't even exist, or like kick them or like push them to the side, you know. And so seeing that type of treatment of kids who didn't be asked to be brought into this world kind of really touched my heart, you know. And I'm like, yo, we gotta do something. Ain't no way I could see this, go home and not do nothing. And so that was the catalyst for for starting the business. And then also, you know, considering the fact that we're taking a product from their land, like, why don't we give back to help
definitely.
them, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was the initial catalyst, and that was the main priority when it came to starting the business. Now, along the way, we realized that this was an amazing tool, an amazing vehicle to actually help with the liberation of our community, you know, or with the education, financially, economically, and to create opportunities for at-risk youth and marginalized people to actually learn. You know, I'm like, if I'm in this journey, I might as well bring somebody along with me, not wait to finish the journey, you know what I'm saying, and then try to teach somebody. Like, no, I'm gonna be transparent. I'm gonna let them see my mistakes. I'm gonna let them see my wins, see my losses, see my struggles, see my successes, so that they can understand how to pivot. In any type of business or entrepreneurship, being able to pivot is one of the most key attributes or skill sets that you'll ever have. You know, a lot of people, they get rigid in their beliefs, they get rigid in their ideas, and that rigidness is what leads to their detriment. And so when you start when you're flexible, or when you're opportunistic, or when you're open-minded, you know, these oftentimes are the fuel that you need for success, you know, and knowing when to be open-minded versus when to, you know, keep your head down, 10 toes to the pavement.
I agree. I think, man, that, like, I just want to talk, you said so many things, but like the fact that you said, like, you know, you want to make sure that you're like kind of inspiring others to, like, you know, basically learn from your mistakes and like learn, you know, when to pivot. I think that's what this platform is all about. Like, literally, that's why we're doing this. And like,
shit, it's hard in the hood. And then it's hard when, on top of not having resources, you feel like everything in life is against you, you know? And what's crazy is the people who have the most influence in the hood and the most sense in the hood oftentimes is people who are dope boys, you know? Like, they're influencers. Now, it's because they got money, this, that, and the other. But one thing that I would love to do is to help them, connect them, and act as a liaison, or act as a bridge across water to connect this world, right, with academia, to connect, you know, unpolished, you know, gems and diamonds with, you know, mentors and advisors who can help them refine some of those skill sets that they have in the hood. Because if you look at our communities, our urban communities, all we do is survive. We find ways, we figure it the hell out. Man. And that's all that entrepreneurship is. Finding creative strategies and creative ways to figure out problems, you know? And so another thing that we fail to realize in regards to entrepreneurship is that it's not these one big leaps and these jumps and these leaps and bounds of success, you know? Like, it's consistent, small ass, constant gains and wins that add up to a big win. And so one thing that we deal with in our generation is a desire for instant gratification. You know, we want to see the result of our hard work and due diligence right then and there.
Welcome to social media.
And it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? We don't even understand like basic life principles. What farmer plants a seed and expects to yield a harvest like 2 days later? It's a basic law of reaping and sowing. You know, and so you invest in your time, you invest in your own self-development, and then you get around people who are smarter than you. And then what you do is what we tend to do. We think because we've done something once, we're an expert. And then we try to teach people like we know something. It's like, no, be eager to learn, willing to be taught, and eager to shut the hell up. You know, like, man, we talk. Like, if I ever get in the room with somebody that's more intelligent than me, or that has something that I don't have, I listen.
Man.
I don't care. Like, I already know what I know. So what am I talk to hear myself talk for?
And that's what that's why I love like having these conversations with like entrepreneurs, and just, I get so much gain from it. And like, it's literally like, I get to have these conversations with like other entrepreneurs and like business people. And like, that literally just helps me become, you know, like the more conversations I have with successful business people, the better business person I'm gonna be.
Hell yeah,
you know?
Pulling nuggets. You know
Man.
what I'm saying? And so, you know, one thing that a lot of people fail to, you know, realize is like, you don't have to take all the advice all the time from everybody. Like, learn how to chew the meat, spit out the bones. And then you don't have to tell the person that they wrong or that you ain't taking their advice. Like, you know, like one thing that we deal with a lot is our pride and ego, you know, in our community. And so getting rid of that is one of the first steps to like actually becoming teachable, and to actually like, and being self-aware. You gotta let people know like, hey, or you don't gotta let nobody, you gotta let yourself know like, I got some issues, I got some real problems, I'm messed up, you know, and be willing to take that look in the mirror. And then when you do take that look in the mirror, be willing to take the concerted effort to actually change it, you know. And it took me some hard looks in the mirror, you know. Entrepreneurship has brought out some of the worst traits in my characteristics in my personality, and it's brought out some of the best that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah. But
I let it mold me, I let it shape me, and I didn't fight it, you know. I gave in and I learned and I grew, And here we are today. I mean, I don't feel like I've accomplished much, but to the people who have been living vicariously through our journey, they feel like we're celebrities or something. They're superstars. I'm like, y'all ain't seen nothing. Like, this is with me going at 50%. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I be telling myself every day, I'm lazy. I need to kick myself.
Oh, you can't talk down on yourself like that.
I'm different. I don't get down on myself, but like I go. You know what I'm saying? I'm really tough on myself. Like I'm from the hood. Like we I'm tough we
on
tell it
myself
how
too.
It is. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bitch, get it together. You know, I kick myself in the pants all the time, but that's what I need. Some people don't need that.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't respond to that. And so that's the other part about entrepreneurship. Being able to understand like who you are, because what a lot of other people will try to do is to put their experiences on you, you know what I'm saying, or their interpretation of their experiences in your perspective, and it's like, nah, like I don't see it that way, you know, or this is what I gained from my experience and this is how I interpreted it. But being able to articulate that in an intelligible way, in a emotion-free way, oftentimes is not doable, you know, because when we start businesses, man, we got our heart into it. Yeah. We got our soul into it. It's passion in that. And what happens though, when you put your heart and your time into a business, it's hard. Like you end up having false starts. You end up lying to yourself, not being realistic, and then your business ends up failing because you have convinced yourself that you're right, you know? And so there's so many things to learn. There's so many challenges to overcome, but it's not the finish line that's important. It's literally what you pick up along the process. Man. Like, because I've learned so many skills like we discussed, you know, like, man, I know how to edit video now. I know how to color grade. I know rules of thirds, you know what I'm saying? I understand photography. I understand, you know, lighting. I understand SEO, SEM. I understand, you know, coding, Python. Like, I know how to speak computer language now, and like so many different facets of business that have completely revolutionized how I think and see the world. It is just absolutely stupendous.
And it sucks that like you gotta learn to be like a jack of all trades to get ahead. But man, I saw this, I was watching this show. There's this show on HBO Max called The Hype. Anybody that's like a creative should definitely check it out. So it's like a design show hosted by like 2 designers and then Offset, the rapper from Migos. And it's super dope. But like one thing that I noticed after watching that show was like the people from LA, or like, you know, like the other side of the map, like they had access to like people to sew their clothes for them. You know, like they had access to like all these other resources or whatever. But the people from the Midwest, they knew how to sew. Like it was a dude from Detroit, or it was a dude from Chicago and a girl from Detroit. They knew how to sew their own stuff. They knew how to do everything themselves. Cut, sew, like, you know, like basically make the product from scratch themselves. Like, and they were so good with it. And like the one girl was like, she was like, man, us from the Midwest, we have to work harder. And I'm like, man, that really is like, man, but I'm like, that is crazy. Like we literally have to like do it all here. Like, and that's what it is. Like, but hey, that's how we get it done around here, man. Like, but yeah, hey, I'm a jack of all trades too. Like, I know how it is. Like, you learn all this stuff and you put the pieces together, man, and then you ain't gotta wait and depend on nobody. Like,
for real. But then in addition to that, honestly, in today's day and age, we find that generalists are more valuable and more marketable and have a higher dollar or price tag than a specialist. You know, because like all of these businesses, you know, you have to become a generalist. You know, you have to be able to extinguish fires, and that's what really is the defining factor when it comes to minorities and Black folks and Latinos and anyone, you know, in marginalized communities, is that they've got that whether they call it that MacGyver, you know, capacity, and that's one of the key reasons why, why the Idea Center and the University of Notre Dame has been putting an intentional effort towards sourcing out and locating these minority entrepreneurs, or just anyone, you know, who has a desire to start a business, because they understand the type of grit that's developed in those environments. You know, they understand that that cannot be taught in theory or inside of a classroom, that it's only developed over time through, you know, triumph and travail, through
survival
hard
skills.
times. Yeah, and you become resilient, you become tenacious, you know, and you become unstoppable. And that's what a lot of people, you know, I mean, Maya Angelou said it best, you know, and still we rise, you know, and it's just like, no matter how far we get pushed down, we find a way to excel. Now, just imagine what that would look like if we had someone to hold our hand along the journey, if we had people who have commercialized businesses and people in VC and venture capital, private equity, angel investment, who take the burden upon themselves, or the responsibility or the obligation to say, hey, each one reach one. Like, that's what real change looks like, you know? And that's what I'm facilitating through, by the grace of God, you know, through the Idea Center. We have brought into the fold, I think maybe 3 or 4 entrepreneurs, Black minority entrepreneurs, since I've been cultivating relationship with them, and they'll sit in my board meetings, they'll sit in my strategy meetings, planning meetings. They've got access to my network, they've got access to the same resources I got access to. Like, that's what collectivity and community is built on. Like, Importin Joe's is only a success because of the Michiana area and because of the community. Like, it ain't got nothing to do, maybe a little bit to do with me, but, you know, it's only because of the support that we've seen that has allowed us to be able to be even in this position to freaking talk to you.
Oh, man. And I'm, you know, I've been kind of watching the support from the sideline, but I mean, I've seen, you know, like the journey, like as it's went on. So, I mean, Importin Joe's has come like a long way. I mean, even, you know, just recently you guys are in Meyer now. Like, that's you know, all over the Midwest store. Like, how did you get to that point? So what was the journey like of, you know, trying to get in like a big box store like that?
It was hell. Honestly.
I remember us talking, like, we've been trying to do this podcast for like, it's been like some months, but like, we finally got connected. But like, I remember even a couple months ago, like, you were having, you know, that first meeting. And so like, it took a minute, you know, for
like 9 months.
Yeah. Okay. So what, like, I guess if you were to drop some sort of like key or gem on, okay.
Ever. Like, when you think it's over, don't stop. Like, they will ignore you. They will close the door on you. They will not care who the hell you are. And you got to make them care. You got to get on their nerves. Like, I show up to headquarters. Like, I don't play.
Hey, okay.
I show up with my product. Like, hey, y'all, I've been calling y'all. Ain't nobody answer the phone. What's going on?
Man.
Like, you have to take the extra effort, and that's what makes us extraordinary, right?
Yeah.
You do more than ordinary. Like, people are complacent and content with being mediocre. And that is my biggest fear in the world. Okay is not good enough. Mediocrity is not acceptable. And there is no what if, there is no second plan. There is no plan B, plan C. I have burned the bridges. I've burned the boats. Ain't no turning back. So it has to succeed, you know? And that's how I wake up every single day and I live my life.
And I feel like that's the mindset that people get like right before it works out, is like, you have to literally believe in yourself so much that like there is no other option. And like, that's the only way that it like pretty much like really works out.
Affirmation, you know what I'm saying? Positive words of affirmation, and understanding that you had a capacity and the ability to manifest your own destiny through your words. Like, one of the greatest assets that I've gained in this journey is my longing and my love for books. And I can't sit down and read them because of my ADHD, but I listen to the audio books, you know what I'm saying, all day, all night. And then I play them over again and again and again. And one of my favorite books, which has impacted my life so much, is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
And that book speaks to the power and ability of manifestation. Because if you can speak it, if you can believe it beyond a reason of a doubt, if your psyche or your subconscious can believe and understand, like, there's nothing that's holding you back. We're our biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
And so I live my life like that. I walk like that. A lot of people, man, they hear me say a lot of lofty things, big dreams, big visions. And then when it comes to pass, they say, you said you were going to do that. But I've convinced myself first. Like, you cannot go into a business or an entrepreneurship thinking, what if? Or like, maybe this might not work out, because you've already lost the fight.
Most definitely. Yeah, man, affirmations, books, like even podcasts are like, you know, these are all ways that, like, man, hey, like, you know, these positive like podcasts that, you know, release the same, you know, like the same sort of like
frequencies.
Yeah, man, getting it all in there, believing it. Like, you literally have to believe it, or else it, you know, because like you can say, you know, whatever affirmation you want, but if you don't believe it in your heart, it ain't, you know.
And then people can believe it. People can pick up on the fact that you don't even believe in yourself. So why the hell would they believe in you? And so that's one of the main contributions, I believe, to our success is my ability to be genuine. You know, like, I've always been authentic. I've always been transparent. What you see is what you get. And I believe firmly that people deserve that much from me at the bare minimum, you know, out of my level of respect for humanity. You deserve to see the most transparent, authentic, and genuine me. And so I try to be that person everywhere I go. I share my testimony with whoever wants to know. And man, I'm always available to be a resource, because I believe it's going to take this generation, we're going to change, like, our communities, like, because we have so much access to so much information. We understand all of the tools that were used against us. Like, I think we can do this. Man,
I agree. Hey, man, a little step by step.
Straight
like
up.
You said earlier, you know, it's like those small gains that like really get you there. And it was never the destination. That was never like the point. Like, there is no destination, honestly.
We don't know
like,
the destination.
Yeah, like it's the journey is that's the trophy that you get. Like, it's not the destination. It was never the destination. Like, so no, man, for real. Who or what was kind of your biggest inspiration as it came to entrepreneurship? Like, was there anybody along the journey that like inspired you? And if not,
Dope Boys.
Hey, I mean, that's real though. Like,
honestly, I looked up to them when I was 14, 15 years old. They had all the big cars, they had all the money, had all the women. You know, like, I didn't know no better. I mean, that's what we glorify in the hood, you know. I mean, through design, but nonetheless, you know, but in regards, that's the start. But in regards to like legitimate entrepreneurship and inspiration, just the struggle, a fear of having a 9-to-5 for the rest of my life.
Being complacent.
Coming home, being away from home for 4 years and being able to find all the same people in the same spot I left them in was scary as hell to me. Because it was like, you mean it's been 4 years and you still wearing the same tie, sitting behind the same desk, eating the same lunch at the same hour for the rest of your life?
Man.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
God, no.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think too, like, you talked about just things, you know, you learned like through, you know, your early entrepreneurship days. And I think a lot of people that grow up in the hood, especially black males, like, man, if they took those qualities that they learned from being a dope boy and turned, man,
commercialized
Lil
them?
Baby is the perfect example. Like, literally dope boy turned, like, man, he put the same effort, if not more, into rap, into something legitimate. Man, look where it got him.
Absolutely.
Like, man, it's crazy.
And so, yeah, that's one of the main things that I'm trying to do with Importin Joe's. Like, you know, I still be in the hood because that's where the people are at that I'm looking to influence. But I'm not in the hood kicking it, shooting dice, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in the hood empowering, like, hey, we got this meeting, you know what I'm saying? You could come, look, please come, you know, and I'm in the hood, like, just trying to inspire and to see, you know, who's ready. who's ready to go to that next level, because a lot of people say they're ready, but they really not. You know, and it requires sacrifice, man, and it's hard. It requires a lot of sacrifice. You know, I lost a lot of friends. I mean, they really weren't friends, I guess, to begin with. But a lot of people who I thought, you know, were on my side. There's a lot of alienation, especially when you're focused and you know where you're going. People will try to disenfranchise you. They will try to demonize you, mischaracterize you, like all of these things. And it's just misunderstanding, you know, that passion and taking it for aggression or assertiveness and all these things. But just keeping my head down and keeping, making sure that I keep people around me who help keep me level-minded and keep me like, I want somebody, like I want capable, able people to critique me. Like, I'm not afraid of being criticized. I'm not afraid of being critiqued, because I know that within every criticism, there's a little bit of truth. And if there's a small bit of truth, maybe, you know, I can reflect on that and become a better person that I need to. But one of the main keys for me is empowerment. I feel that if we start investing in our youth, because they're so impressionable, they're very moldable at a very young age, because, you know, the mind's developing new ideas, new things. I think that we can infiltrate the home, the black home, by getting to the kids. You start getting children excited about entrepreneurship. You start teaching kids, you know, financial literacy. You teach them how to be frugal. You teach them all of these different components, you know, to building wealth. And then, you know, I believe firmly, like kids, they go home, they talk about stuff, and they just go on and on. And if you could start to cultivate an ecosystem, right, of entrepreneurship, of business starters, and eventually it's just one family, then that family, you know, is now encouraging another family to start a lemonade stand. And now that family, you know, now you got a community of black families that all got businesses together, you know. So I firmly believe that's how we can start to kind of reknit the fabric of Black America. Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I think too, as far as it relates to like even just passing down, you know, things to like our kids, a lot of like, and I want to say this in the most like comforting way possible, not in a negative way, but comforting. But okay, like just think back to like, as it relates to like even just like slavery or like there's a like a stereotype or like a joke, you know, amongst black people that like black people can't swim. But like what happened was, that's reality. No, it really is though. Like their parents can't swim, so they didn't teach them to swim. Oh no, we don't go near water. So like everybody just stay away from the water instead of like learning to swim. But like, do you know the history behind that? We couldn't go in the natatoriums. We couldn't go in exactly. Like so it got passed down from generation to man. Imagine if we passed down like the hustle, the grit, the entrepreneurship, the business mindset with the financial literacy in let's read books. Like, you know, like, come on now. Like, so yeah, nah, it's just, yeah. If you want to hide something from someone, put it in a book. Man, that's what they be saying. And I mean, everything, like I read the tax code, you know, like I read like back, but I was a different kid, you know. I would, back when I was 16, 17, 14, 15, you know, I smoked some bud. And I watched the History Channel all day and loved it, you know. Or like, you know, I would read the dictionary. But I had my grandparents, right? My grandparents were so pivotal in my journey starting out, because my grandfather would actually have me editing his biographies that would be featured in the newspaper when I was like 5, 6 years old. Wow. Like they started me like publicly speaking and orating like 6, 7 years old. So my grandparents cultivating that in me was really good. Yeah, nah, I think that's dope. Like that's like, man, I mean that obviously the elders are important. Yeah, no, definitely. And that I think that's like a key inspiration in your journey. Like if it wasn't for that, you know, you wouldn't be who you are today. So I think that's dope. But yeah, one last thing. If you could drop your biggest gem, what would you give to the world, man? Give us the best advice you got. Oh, when everything seems to be crashing down and coming down, that's right when you at your breakthrough, your moment of breakthrough. That's a bar. Like for real, like if you listen to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, if you listen to that, it's a collection of all of the greatest leaders and the greatest entrepreneurs in the world all of their stories, the same thing that they had in common was the fact that their greatest success was right on the horizon of their greatest failure. It was right around the freaking corner. If they just would have stuck in a little bit longer, had no idea. So don't quit, don't give up, and get around mentors. Put yourself around intelligible people who are qualified to talk about what they. I wouldn't go and get advice from a breadsmith about the clarity of a diamond or an emerald. I wouldn't go to a jeweler to ask them how to bake bread. And so when I get advice or I get consultation, I make sure that I go to experts in the field who have validation, who have already accomplished the level of life and achievements and accomplishments of life that I want to achieve. You know, like, I'm not gonna go talk to, you know what I'm saying, Pookie, you know what I'm saying, about venture capital. You know, because I mean, that's the homie, that's bro. But I mean, I'm gonna get around people who actually have the knowledge that I need. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. And so that's how I think that's the biggest advice. And read. I don't know which camera we on. Read, go get an audio book. You know, there is power in liberation in words and education. And self-education.
One important thing I think is that like, you don't have to start out in the room with somebody, like, you know, to start, you know, listening. You got podcasts now, you got YouTube videos, like, just start educating yourself, period. Just start there, and then start, you know, looking into finding somebody that can be a mentor.
Man,
like,
I put 2 years in my own personal education and learning the industry, learning about bags. I evaluated over 2,000 bags myself. I went into grocery stores. I took pictures of every coffee bag on the shelf, turned it around every side, and I looked at key components that that stood out to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I invested 2 years of my life without even touching or thinking about selling a coffee bean. And people don't understand that. I didn't pursue, you know what I'm saying, these rooms of people. I was just there, you know. I was involved and I showed up. Show up. That's another thing we don't do. We don't show up when it's time to show up. You know, like, if somebody is dependent on you and counting on you, do it with the best ability that you possibly have. Like, don't be mediocre. Don't be half-assing nothing. You know what I'm saying? And in regards to getting that mentorship, like, that mentorship came after I did it on my own. Ain't nobody gonna help you and then waste their time if you not gonna waste your time on you. You know, like, people's time is valuable these days. And so I put in a good year and grinded it out before people even decided to help me in any faculty. But yeah, here we are.
Period. All right, where can people find you?
So you can find us at importinjoes.com. Excuse me. You can also find us at all of the local Meijer here in South Bend, Michiana area. You can find us here locally, also Purple Porch Co-op. You can find us at Chicory Cafe. You can find us at Frankie's Tacos. You can find us at Fresh Time. You can find us at the St. Joe County Library. They're serving our coffee. You'll be able to find us coming up pretty soon, available at Generations at Ventureplex, and a slew of other people. And also at the University of Notre Dame, we're the primary coffee provider for them. And then you could buy our product anywhere, honestly.
Y'all ship to all 50 states?
All 50 states, absolutely. And Canada.
Thank you for coming out.
Peace.
Appreciate y'all. Like, share, spread the word.